Hello, welcome to this series of episodes on the book of Genesis. We are continuously recording chapter after chapter. Some chapters are recorded once all together. Some chapters go for 2 or 3 episodes. But I want you to continuously watch them all. You subscribe to the channel and you watch the episodes and you be blessed by what I comment on the subject or on the chapter. So sometime when the subjects are less than one chapter, we may cover less. Thereby 2 or 3 recordings should be there in one chapter. And sometime the lesson may overflow beyond the chapter, so we may cut off immediately. But today we are focusing on chapter 10 on Genesis. Genesis 10 from verse 1. Here we see the descendants of Noah. This is the genealogy of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the sons were born to them after the flood. And the sons were born to these 3 children after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. And sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarma. The sons of Javan were Elsha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Todarnim. So you can notice Tarshish is mentioned here. And these, the coastland people of Gentiles, were separated into their lands, everyone according to his language and according to their families into their nations. Something I want to mention here, these are generations spoken, but what is occurring in chapter 11 could be in between the generations of these children. Why? Because that time it said in the whole earth there was the language of one man, one language spoken by all the people. But whereas in this particular verse it says, from these the coastland people of the Gentiles were separated into their lands, everyone according to his language and according to their families into their nations. So they have spread abroad. They were not as one city, which we are going to see next. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of the Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, Sapteka, and the sons of Rama were Sheba and Dedan. Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. So we think about Nimrod as one of the men because he was mighty, but at the same time he conquered other people, other nations, we consider as an enemy. But we should not, which I come to the end to speak about. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. We come to know about Babel here, which we are going to read in the next chapter. When Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar, from that land he went to Assyria and built Nineveh. We think about Assyria or the Nineveh, Rehoboth Jr. and Kala. And Resen between Nineveh and Kala, this is the principal city. Mizraim begot Ludim, Anamim, Nehabim, Nephthal, who through him, Bastu Rusim, and Kashluhim, from whom came the Philistines and Capthorim. So we are also talking about Philistines these days. So we need to be careful what we are talking about them. So I will come to that point later. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, the Jebusite, the Amorite, and the Girgasite, the Hivite, the Arkite, and the Sinite, the Arvadite, the Zemarite, and the Hamathite, Afterward, the families of the Canaanites were dispersed. So you understand here, all the ites were born to this Canaan. The Amorite we talk about, Hivite and Archite and Sinite who came against the people of Israel. So we are also keeping an attitude of enmity against these people, which we should not. I want to come to that point later. And the border of the Canaanites were from Sidon as you go toward Gerar, as far as Gaza. Then as you go toward Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zebolim, as far as Lasha. Again, there are three countries which are familiar now to us. One is Gaza, then towards Sodom and Gomorrah. So Sodom and Gomorrah sinned a lot and God had to punish them, whereas Gaza is today, it is the topic of the day. So we need to be careful about talking about Gaza too. These were the sons of Ham, according to their families, according to their languages, in their lands and in their nations. And children were born also to Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder. The sons of Shem were Elam, Ashur, Arpazad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arpazad begat Salah, and Selah begat Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Zoktan. So you understand here, the earth was divided, it says in this verse, and it was during this time of Peleg. So to Eber, Peleg was born, and then he had a brother's name was Joktan. Joktan begat Almadad, Sheleb, Hamar, Mave, Zerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Dirkla, Ubal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Evilah, and Jodab. All these were the sons of Joktan. And their dwelling place was from Mecha as you go toward Sephor, the mountain of the east. These were the sons of Shem, according to their families, according to their languages, in their lands, according to their nations. These were the families of the sons of Noah, according to their generations, to their nations, and from these the nations were divided on the earth after the flood. So what we note here is the Tower of Babel we are going to see in the next chapter. The Tower of Babel, I believe, was constructed by the people when they were all together with one language and they were as one man, which we see there. So, but later part of the Bible, in this chapter 10, in some passages it says they were dwelling in different places, different nations, and they were speaking different languages. So we see that must have occurred sometime in between. But one more point I want to note is Philistines. When Philistine appears in the sometime Samson's time and somewhere in David's time, and we immediately, the moment we heard that word Palestine, we consider them as the enemy. And we are God's people and they are the enemy. Same way Amorite, Hivite, Kilkarite, all those people. And nowadays the topic of the day is on Gaza. Now Gaza Strip, when they talk about Hamas, there are also Jews there. So more than 40% Jews are living, and remaining people are of the Hamas generation, or many support Hamas. But immediately we consider them as enemy as a whole. So this should not be done. When God said you love your neighbor as yourself, and one of the commandments is to love our neighbor, or mainly the commandment to love our neighbor comes after the 6. So you consider you shall not kill, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, and you shall not covet. So, and when we see all this, and when Christ also said that all these 10 commandments I consider into 2 commandments. One is love the Lord your God first. Secondly, love your neighbor as yourself. So what do we see here? All are God's creations. After Noah, although they multiplied as a different nation people, they are all God's people. So we should never keep enmity against anyone. We should love all our people. Although Iran is coming against Israel, Hamas is coming against Israel, Pakistan is against India, and somewhere in Chinese people we consider those days communism, people follow communism, and now we hear about Thailand and Cambodia. So all these areas people do live, and when they live they are God's children. So we should learn to love everyone who is listed in this chapter. So Genesis chapter 10 is very important to note all the kinds of people and still love them, because they are God's children, God's chosen children, and they are not acknowledging Jehovah, so they are unbelievers. But a day will come, they will come to the Lord. God doesn't want anyone to get perished. But maybe at the end, there may be 50% of the people separated against God, the people who are against God, and 50% of the people who are following God. So that theory is something different. It talks about Christ's judgment day and all that. We will see it later. So this is about Genesis chapter 10 that you follow. Please follow these episodes continuously. Subscribe to the channel and be a follower all the time. God may bless you and give you the heart of love. That's my desire. Thank you.